Welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I am Tyler Frater alongside Richard De La Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor for Raider.
Good evening.
It is Monday, October 14th, 2024. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. You can support us for $247, $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. We've got lots of stuff to cover today, lots of stuff to talk about today, and lots of games to talk about. So, Connor, we'll start with you. What have you been playing?
I have been playing
this past week.
I have been playing
these past 7 days.
I have been playing a lot of Rogue Trader, the 40k CRPG. I have found a very nice synergy in the game that's like it is intended. Where through picking my character's background and class, my guy essentially does nothing but tell people what to do and give people extra turns in combat.
Wow, nice. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's like a lieutenant in Bolt Action almost, or a captain.
Kinda, yeah. He's a noble and an officer.
You're just snapping to all the time. Okay, cool.
But what that ends up doing is I have a sister of battle with me in my retinue, who has a bolter that can go full auto.
Nice.
So she gets 3 turns in a row of going full auto.
Oh, awesome.
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does the turn-based combat work? Is it XCOM or is it like does cover matter or is it all dice rolls? Like how does
cover
it work?
matters?
Okay, so it's kind of XCOM-ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the story so far is I'm not too deep into it yet. But having having knowledge of the Warhammer universe, it's fun noticing some things and being able to like dig deeper into them and know where it's going and point out like flaws to people where they're like trying to cover stuff up, like a governor trying to cover up a rebellion that's going on. It's like, dude, how could you not know this is gonna happen? You're a terrible governor. Anyway, so that's super fun. I did just have an encounter with a Herald of Tzeentch, which is a minor demon from the warp that just appeared in the Materium. So that was a fun combat because it started turning all the NPCs that were just around the area into combatants through mind control.
Oh wow.
So a lot of civilians died.
As is the Warhammer
universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very fun. And I've also been playing through Cry of Fear.
Oh yeah, okay.
And let me tell you, that is definitely someone's first game. The writing is very of 2013.
Yeah.
And so is the gameplay.
I was gonna say that's an older game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why this? You're just itching for a horror game?
No. It's because it's October and my girlfriend was like, I want to see you play a horror game.
So you picked a random old game from 2013. Huh?
She picked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she picked a random old game from 2013. I've never played this. Is it any good? It's free to play? Oh man. Oh, it's multiplayer though. Survival horror. Wait, what the hell kind of game is this?
So it is single player.
Okay.
I'll tell you this much. It's a Source Engine game.
Source mod. Okay.
Yeah.
What's game? I'm sorry. That came off mocking. I didn't mean that. It's just a source mod. No, okay, source game. All right, cool. Yeah.
So all the jank that comes with the Source Engine is in this game.
Source Engine's perfect, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure.
Whatever.
Sure it is. There have been some weird instances where like an enemy will be like up against a wall or up against an object and I can't attack them. So I have to leave the room, re-enter the room to reset them so I can fight them. But, you know, it's a 11-year-old game. It happens.
Oh, man, I'm excited. I'm going to try this game out. Free to play. Free to play horror game during Spooky-tober.
Yeah.
I'm down for this.
During Orktober? Hell yeah.
Anything else, Connor?
Not that I can talk about.
Okay. Richard.
Hey.
What have you been playing, Richard?
The only thing I've been playing is the newest Dragon Ball game, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. a game that's been a lot of people have been waiting for what is it, like 13 years now, I think. It is the fourth iteration of the Tenkaichi series that was last seen on the PS2. And it is a fighting game like most Dragon Ball games are, but it's closer designed to a fighting game than it is an arena fighter, which has been most of the Dragon Ball games. And arena fighters have this, they're known for being copy paste. Basically every single anime property is an arena fighter, and it is just copy, like paste. You kind of know what to expect when you buy one of these games. But this one here has been, it's a step up from that. It still is simplistic in a lot of ways, but there are mechanics in there that are very hard to pin down. They're easy enough when you're in training mode, but when you go into an actual battle, it's a lot different trying to pull off those maneuvers than it is in training, which I find to be exciting and also frustrating sometimes. And I dare not go onto online mode because I know how crazy people can get on that. But I think it has one of the best presentations of an anime game I've ever seen. Not just the menus, but also the thought and care put into a lot of the Dragon Ball characters. When they meet up with each other, of course, they have lines if they are relating to each other. And they even went as far as to creating lines for characters who would never have met each other. And then if they do in a battle, they'll have something special to say to each other. And I think that's always a nice cherry on top, because you do, when you have a long running series like this, you have a lot of people start asking what if questions. And so that kind of satiates those thoughts for wanting to see those characters interact with each other. But I've been having a real fun time with it. I'm probably going to stick with it for a little bit. Of course, I'll play other things, but as of right now, that's like the new shiny toy. So I will be probably playing that for the foreseeable future until I get back and hopefully find a copy of Silent Hill or many of the other games that come out this month that I don't have time for.
Is there a Dragon Ball series ongoing right now?
There's a new one starting. It either has started or is starting. The way the anime industry works is usually the mangas, or the comics, if you will, come first, and the anime is based off of those comics. So once the manga happens faster, the anime happens faster than the manga, because animation can cover a lot more than just a book. So once it catches up, that's when something happens in anime called filler, where they kind of just make their own episodes on the fly with their own stories and whatnot.
Yeah.
Beach episode.
Usually they're of lesser quality, but what they call Dragon Ball Super series has been going on in manga form for quite a while now, and they do have a lot of stuff to cover. But the creator, Akira Toriyama, before he passed away, wanted to create a whole new story set in between certain time frames of the series, and that is starting, I think, very soon here. And they're going to do that for however long it's going to happen, and then hopefully they'll move on to continuing with the storyline. So it's the technicality whether it's still ongoing.
Oh, okay.
It is, but just
I was
right
just
now,
curious,
kind of on break.
Because I when I was a kid, I watched it on and off when it was on TV. I had no idea. I think I remember, I think there's a character. Goku was killed by Majin Buu. I think that was one of the big things that happened when I was a kid. That was like a big, and then but then Goku's son killed Majin Buu later on. Is that what happened?
He fights him. Yeah, fights him.
Okay, yeah, but that was like the original Dragon Ball, if I remember correctly.
Dragon Ball Z. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway,
it's, 40 plus years, so there's a lot 30 plus years, there's a lot going on. So
yeah, do not remind me that I know of a show that's been around for 30 plus years and I was there to see it. Please do not remind me.
Hey, the NES is 40 years old now, so
Okay, so yeah, I have been playing Silent Hill 2 a lot. I am almost finished with the hospital, which is the second big sort of set piece linear section of the game. I'm enjoying it a lot so far. I think Bloober Team had a lot of difficult things they had to figure out how to do, from the camera angles to how to represent certain cutscenes to how to employ certain cutscenes, because in Silent Hill 2, when you open a door, it goes to a loading screen, and then you enter the room, right? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
are they? And that loading screen is sometimes prepares you for something that happens on the other side, right? So it's like, how
Yes.
are they going to handle that transition? And so far, I think they've done a really good job modernizing it without dropping too much of what I think made Silent Hill 2 really good.
Oh,
Obviously, it's divisive because the internet exists. So but I don't know. It's gotten rave reviews, so I don't think I'm saying anything super controversial when I say that so far I think it's really good. The combat I think is good. It probably could be better in some aspects. It probably could be a little less prominent as well. I think there is a lot of combat, especially when you get into like the hospital and the apartment. Not I don't know, not a ton of. There's more than I think that there needs to be, but not so much where I'm hating it or anything like that. It's just
okay.
I think it feels a little more actiony than the original game did, but not in a bad way or anything. I'm still having to manage resources. It's still very survival horror. I'm still looking through drawers and things to find resources and whatnot. Yeah, so I think one of the big differences in this one is you'll see drawers that you can open to look inside, or you'll see a medicine cabinet and you can smash it and grab something that's inside of it. Whereas sort of I think there was a couple of medicine cabinets you could smash in the original one, but in the original one, if there was something to grab, it would just be like sitting on the floor or something.
Yeah.
So in this one, you're given a little bit more incentive to sort of poke around, walk around rooms, see if there's something you can open, or explore for a second to find resources, and that's always fun. And I think they're distributed fairly well. The performances so far are stellar. I think I don't know his name off the top of my head. The actor that plays James, I think he'll be up for performance of the year. And of the games that I have played, obviously Dragon Age Veilguard is going to come out at the end of the month, and that's going to have a lot of acting in it as well. But right now, I think my front runner for performance of the year is the actor that plays James, Luke
I've
Roberts.
seen. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying his name, Luke Roberts. Go ahead.
Okay. I've seen a couple of some of the integral scenes, like in clips, and I obviously am not playing the game yet, but just from those clips alone, like I would probably have to very strongly agree with you, because they were kind of pivotal conversations that were happening, and yeah, the delivery was almost was pretty much perfect, both in like cadence of the voice and just timing. Like it was very impressive from
Yeah,
what I've seen.
yeah, and all the characters. Once you play it and you see Eddie and the little girl, I forget her name, Maria. All the characters are acted extremely well. They have some really good shots. There's really good cinematography. So yeah, one of the things that I was worried about, and I talked about this in a previous podcast, was how they would do the cinematography. Because it was going to a third person camera. So it's like, how would they do those creepy scenes? Richard, you mentioned how, I thought you said it really well, where those scenes have intent. Where the camera's panning, or it's Dutch angles, it's floating, it's creepy, it's weird. They retained a lot of that, and basically, also mini spoil how they do it is when you get to a spot where there's supposed to be a cutscene, the screen just sort of fades to black for a split second, and then a cutscene starts, and it's perfect. It works perfectly. Or it fades to white, and then there's a cutscene after that. It's just a perfect like transition into a cutscene. And I think with games like God of War and, I don't know, maybe Red Dead Redemption 2 and stuff like that, showing like the nuts and bolts of how a movie is made, like cutting and camera angles and different cameras and stuff like that, has almost become like a sin in a weird way. I don't know if that makes sense. Like every game has to have the camera pan from behind the character to show something, and then
Yes.
and then pan back to behind the character for the gameplay to start. And I think Silent Hill 2 is a good example of you don't need that. You can use cuts, you can use fades, and all those cinematics are still going to have value. They're still going to be really well. You can still make them really well shot and meaningful. So I think they've done that really well. There haven't been any massive changes that I've noticed. There's not like Dead Space. The Dead Space remake added optional side quests you could go on. There's nothing like that in the game. I think there are like as you're walking around Silent Hill, there are optional buildings. You can like smash a window and jump in and maybe grab some resources. They're not everywhere. It's not like this sprawling open world. But there's little things out of the way like that you can find to nab a few more bullets or nab another health drink or something like that. The music, it is often pretty quiet and it gets loud in important parts. I will say this, I think the soundtrack and the sound work overall was better in the first one, just because this one is not as quiet as the original one, and the original one was really quiet. You know, in the apartment building in the original one, when you go up the stairs, it's like the first floor is quiet. You go up the stairs, the second floor has this weird soundtrack playing for no reason. And it's like industrial and strange. And then you enter the second floor and it's back to quiet. So there's a lot of these, like, there's places where a sound or some ambient music plays for no reason. That's really weird. The soundtrack in this is good. I prefer the way it was implemented more in the original, but it still works, and it is not it's not bad. I think I prefer how they implemented it in the original one. Yeah, I think the story is a little more, they deliver a little bit more in this one. I think the first one was a little more cryptic. This one is still cryptic and weird and surreal, but I think they deliver a little bit more. There's a shot where, minor spoilers here, James it's hinted and I think confirmed that James at one point either had trouble with alcohol or was an alcoholic or something like that. There's a shot where a character pushes a drink, like a shot of whiskey, toward him. And the actor does this amazing job because you can almost see him like wet his lips at the sight of it, and you can see how desperately he's trying to resist the temptation, and he sort of pushes the drink away and gets up. It's a really powerful scene that I don't think was in the original one. So it's like that's delivered, I think, a little more subtle in the original one, where this one, it delivers the same message, but it allows the actor to have this really powerful moment of emotion and acting that is extremely well done. So there's little moments like that. There's one shot I can't wait to talk to you about, Richard, because I think it's really clever and I think it's something you're going to like a lot. It's just a small thing. The camera pans at one point during a pivotal scene, and you see something in the distance. If you've played Silent Hill 2, you know what that thing is. But the camera doesn't focus on it. It just sort of pans and you kind of see it. So it's not really focused on it as much as it is just in the way. If you've played Silent Hill 2, you know what it is. If you've never played Silent Hill 2, you probably won't even think about it until later on when that thing comes into the game. So for people that have played, it sort of calls this thing out for a split second. And it's like, you know what this is and you know what you're going to have to do. And for new players, they see that and they're like, oh, okay. But when the time comes that this thing comes around, if they remember this shot, it's a really interesting moment of foreshadowing that I thought was really clever and really well done. So yeah, overall, I honestly, I think it's going to be one of the Game of the Year contenders. I don't know what my Game of the Year is right now, but I think it's good enough to be considered up there with the best games of the year. And yeah, it's gotten my mind racing about a lot of different things. After this, it's like, hey, I don't know how well it's selling. They haven't announced numbers or anything like that. People have talked about the Steam charts, but I know Steam charts aren't always 100% accurate, and I don't know. Theme charts aren't something, they're more of a tool than like a source, I think. And
Right.
we don't know the console numbers. So I would hope that the game is doing well, because I think if anything, what Silent Hill 2 proves is, again, I often talk about structure in games, like, you know, Resident Evil 4, the structure of Resident Evil 4 is still good today. Getting a key, opening a door, slowly unlocking a level, all that kind of thing, right? Resident Evil 4 as a video game, where it's Leon and these characters and he's taking out the cult, you know, whatever. That's good. You can remake that and it's fun. But when it just comes to the pacing, the structure of the gameplay itself, all that still works today, just modernized, right? And I think Silent Hill 2 kind of shows us that you can take a game like Silent Hill, which was, you know, survival horror, very slow paced. You can translate that into sort of a modern context today, and that structure still works perfectly fine. So, you know, I would love to see other people sort of delve into making similar survival horror games like that, because it works. That gameplay does not feel old or dated. It still works perfectly well. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now. Yeah, I think maybe my biggest complaint is that I think there are parts where you have to fight two enemies where it's like, you know, if I was just fighting one enemy here, that'd be perfectly fine. So, you know, it throws enemies at you that I kind of think, I don't know if I need to face this many enemies. But if you manage your health and ammo fairly well, you'll be okay. So it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, that's basically all I've been playing. Is there anything else we would like to mention before we move on?
Saw the Mario movie finally. And it's been like a year and a half. Yeah.
How'd you like it?
I liked it. I thought it was when I say this, I think for those who don't understand like the context that I have in my mind, it would sound negative, but I thought that it was completely inoffensive. It was enjoyable, but it was like completely inoffensive. Like everything was as expected.
All right.
Watching that movie. But it was nice. Of course it's a Mario film, and like all the little things that, you know, they place throughout the movie were like, oh yeah, there's that thing. Oh, that's cute. And like, oh, cool. I'm glad that they like showed this off or what have you. I thought most of the performances were solid. I still think Charlie Day as Luigi is like complete knockout casting. Like he's absolutely perfect as it.
Agreed.
But yeah, no, it was good. It was good and fun. I had it on secondarily as I was working on stuff, and so I would glance back and forth. But I didn't really have a lot of like exciting jump out of my seat like moments. It was made for everyone, and that's okay. Just like the Lego games.
I feel like every movie game has a spot for Charlie Day. Metal Gear Solid, he could be Ocelot. There you go, perfect.
He could be Johnny.
he could definitely be Johnny. Silent Hill, Johnny. Honestly, he might be able to play James. He might actually be a pretty good James. No, okay, cool. I haven't seen it yet. Connor, have you seen it?
No. Oh, okay.
No. Okay. Yeah. But that is one but I was going to say Jack Black is also the perfect casting for Bowser.
Yes. I think. That was absolutely perfect. No, I do have a big downside with it, and is that like Illumination, the studios who made the movie, like they cannot stop themselves from using licensed music like every goddamn second. And yeah, there's a lot of modern, well, not modern, but like 80s to like modern songs that were like in that film that I was just like,
that's kind of weird.
Here we go again.
Huh, that's strange. All right, well, okay, hit the end. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Okay, so I wanted to touch on something because last week we had a discussion about 343 announced the news that they are now Halo Studios. They're moving to Unreal Engine 5 for future Halo games. We had a little discussion about that, what all that could mean. But I sort of pontificated that, they need to reboot Halo, that the Halo storyline has just gotten ridiculous and out of control and stupid. So it's best to just, ditch that, reboot it, go from there, take the things that I think made it Infinite good and sort of go from there. Well, it turns out Tom Warren back in June had reported that Microsoft is working on a Combat Evolved remake of some kind. He reported it in Notepad, which is one of his subscription-based newsletters. But I completely missed that a few months ago and I feel like that would have been bigger news, but I didn't see it reported anywhere. And
maybe because it was posted on Notepad.
That may be it. And that's actually a discussion I would like to have one day. Is that's becoming more? Stephen Totillo has and I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. Well, it's not a good or bad thing in the sense that you should be paid for your work, but when it comes to the distribution of information and the sort of edification of an audience, paywalls can be a detriment to all that. That's a different discussion, though. Yeah, I kind of wanted. So I wanted to. Since it definitely seems like, for multiple reasons, that there is a Combat Evolved reboot in the works, I was curious what we would want to see from it. Connor, we grew up playing the Halos. Richard, I don't know what you're actually, and I feel stupid not having asked this since we've done a podcast for all these years.
Yeah.
But what your history with Halo is?
Yeah, I've played it since the first game. I did a single player story and lots of LAN parties for the original Halo. And yes, I've said it before on the podcast a long time ago, but Halo 2 was 100% crucial to the success and stability of Xbox Live.
Yep. Do you remember your highest number rank? Let's do this. Let's measure this real quick.
No.
Okay, so you weren't serious then. That's what I'm hearing.
No.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm gonna gatekeep this real quick. No, I'm kidding.
That's fine.
I think the highest I got was 44, which is pathetic that I remember it, and I'm still proud of it because it's absolutely useless. Never got to 50, but I think the highest was 42 or 44, and I think it was Team Slayer. That or doubles, one of those. But anyway, so
I was a big team battle guy.
Big team battle is the fun one because it's also the relaxed one because it's just it can just be an absolute crapshoot. Okay, so yeah, what do we think about? I don't know. From what we can remember from Halo Combat Evolved or just the series in general, especially considering what we've seen from other reboots of other games, soft reboots, whatever. What would we want to see? What are some things that interest us? Connor, go ahead. It looks like you.
I was going to say, for Combat Evolved, the introduction of the Flood, the shock factor and horror of the Flood fades really quickly in Combat Evolved. I think a lot of that is because you find virtually infinite ammo throughout the maps. So maybe making that part
depends on the difficulty.
Fair. Yeah. Making that part a little bit more resource scarce.
Okay.
So that it isn't just the horror of the Flood when that's now I'm gonna have to get into melee or save a bunch of ammo and just try and sprint past these things.
That's an interesting idea. I always loved having, because part of the fun of the Flood levels was that they carried all the different weapons, so you were constantly juggling, oh, this guy has a rocket launcher, this guy has a shotgun. It was almost like they would deliver you weapons trying to kill you. It's if you can kill me, you can have my gun, and they'd come at you a rocket launcher, shotgun, and a plasma pistol or something. And you're like, oh boy, it's a present if I can live. But yeah, the horror aspect of it is interesting because I think people forget just how terrifying the reveal of the Flood was, because up until that point in the game, this is what is so brilliant about the Silent Cartographer, is the Silent Cartographer is a giant foreshadow, because the game, the Silent Cartographer starts and it's touchdown, hit it Marines, and it's this awesome beach assault, which is like right out of every like nerd's wet dream, right? And then later on in the level slows down and you're digging into these old ruins and it's kind of uncertain and there's an air of the unknown. And then at the very end, you have to fly with Foehammer underground, and it all gets very like, it goes from being this big bombastic action scene to this really quiet sort of, we're going to go down here and see what we find. And so that later crescendos into it's like, oh no, this is a horror, like this is partially a horror game. And the scene is right out of Aliens. I mean, like, because you're watching a dude, it really, Halo Combat Evolved is like a bunch of guys were like, let's make aliens, but file off and have a blue alien instead that kind of looks like a xenomorph, but not really. It kind of, he looks more like a predator.
Yeah.
But anyway, Richard, was there anything? I can't see you. Was there anything you were?
I thought about this when I saw the prompt. When I was reading the notes, and I do wonder what I would add to the original Halo, because I wanted to knee-jerk respond with the fact that I would like to see more exposition or more expansion on like kind of the lore like right before Halo, and of course a little bit during. But I think that part of the appeal of Halo was how, I don't want to say how little of a story there was in Halo, because there definitely obviously was, but they hit all of the notes to create a curiosity for the greater universe that they had. I think that's partially why it was so well received as like one of the greatest sci-fi shooters like ever made. So I wanted to say like, yeah, expand on the story a little bit, and I do think they probably should, but just not much. I know in the notes you have the point of maybe having some missions with the Arbiter, and it would be cool to have like maybe, let's say, an epilogue, or maybe like right before the end of the game, like sorry, timeline's out of whack in my head. Maybe perform some battles as the Arbiter against some of the Marines and stuff like
somewhere
that.
else on the ring, far away from the chief or something.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could do it. I guess you could make a couple of like ground level missions of what's going on Earth and like New Mombasa and stuff like that. Like just like maybe like a Marine, like a lead in to a cliffhanger to begin Halo 2. But then that means make Halo 2. So
yeah, you'd have to reboot that one as well. Yeah. I put that in the notes because the Arbiter plays such a huge role in Halo 2, and I think partially an important one, but he is sort of a retconned character because he doesn't exist in the first game. So very clearly, I think Halo Combat Evolved ended on a big, Chief is flying away from the ring, and it's like, what do we do now? Create an entire universe, and so they had to create for the Chief like this mirror of himself and the Arbiter. So it would be interesting if they could introduce that character, if they could introduce him in Combat Evolved, because then you would see that if they were to go on to Reboot 2 and 3 or Remake or whatever, then you could see their relationship start in Combat Evolved and then evolve in 2 and then eventually to where they're allies in 3, right? As opposed to it's starting in Halo 2 and you see the Arbiter's transition from a religious zealot to having his eyes uncovered to eventually, rebelling against the Covenant and all that. It would be cool to have that process started earlier so you can see them when they are enemies and then eventually they turn into allies or whatever. So I think that, man, I'm maybe that's just a cutscene here or there. Maybe you see the Arbiter on the deck of a ship somewhere and he's angry because the Chief just pulled off a mission and he's like, on this side of the ring they did this. Blah blah. He's angry. I don't know. But something like that where you have a continuity, I think could be neat. I was thinking about, because I really liked Infinite's open world. Well, I like the idea of Infinite's open world. And I think there was potential that that Infinite didn't fully take advantage of. But I was thinking about how would you do that with Combat Evolved? And when I thought about it more, I thought, okay, it would actually be a lot harder than I first considered, because you follow the Chief from point to point so much. like where he flies to or where he teleports to.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of like, he's in one spot, you don't know what happens, and he's in another spot.
Mm-hmm.
It very often happens he jumps in a pelican, and then in the next shot that pelican lands. So it's like, you know exactly kind of where he's going and where he was.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Right.
again, with the continuity of it, there's sort of a continuity to that latter half of the game. And so that would make an open world difficult, because then it's like, how would you string together those levels? You'd have to somehow snip them and make it where, like, when, like at the end of that, when he gets introduced to the flood, the Guilty Spark 343 takes him to the library, just teleports him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do you
Right,
do
yes.
that in an open world? You would, if in an open world, sure, you could make it where a part of the map is blocked off. And, you know, once you enter that area, that's when that mission starts. But then how do you link it to this other level over here when you have the open world that the player is expecting to be able to explore? I think that's a tricky thing. And so maybe the easy thing is just to keep it linear,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe play with the open world structure somehow else. Maybe a cool spinoff would be is if you played as like an ODST troop somewhere else on the ring. So you had this like other story, or maybe you played as a Marine somewhere, and then you could sort of play with that open world idea that I think Infinite was really close to having some really like cool ideas with, but it was just sort of a generic open world action structure that wasn't great. So yeah, there's that. Anything else? Any other thoughts we have before we move on here?
Of course, obviously a more robust multiplayer.
Yeah.
But you know, as you have consistently like talked about, having that thin line of it being true to what people remember, and then also catering to it's the same problem Silent Hill 2 has, catering to like new audiences, because in Silent Hill's case, 20 years later, tastes have changed, mindsets have changed, so you have to appeal, well, I say you have to appeal to a wider audience, but there is the pressure of competition with other franchises that you have to take into the account as well, and how will that affect those modes altogether.
Alrighty. Okay, I wanted to move on to PC Gamer released their top 100 PC games today, and there wasn't a ton of news, and the next thing we're going to talk about is kind of depressing. So I was like, hey, why don't we do a fun little your top 10 quarterbacks of all time, go, like one of those segments. I have not looked at the top 10. I think we'll go 10 through 1 here. I
Okay.
have not looked. Have you guys looked yet at them? The top 10?
I just loaded up the website.
Okay, cool. I have not
I'll
looked.
tell you what, I'll look 20 to 11.
Okay. 20 to 11. Thank you. Okay, so this is top 100
Oh, I don't
PC
like this
games,
already.
I think, of all time. All right, so starting at number 10, they have Doom, 1993 Doom. That's number 10.
Okay.
Going to number 9 is Stardew Valley.
Mm.
Number
Okay.
8 is Balatro. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting. Number 7 is Half-Life 2. Number 6 is The Witcher Wild Hunt, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Number 5 is Persona 5 Royal. Wow. Okay, coming in hot there.
Okay.
Number 4 is
Okay.
Minecraft. Number 3 is Elden Ring. Number 2, Disco Elysium. All right, do we have any guesses for number 1? Connor,
I just saw it.
You just saw it?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the rest of the list, so
To be honest, my thought was going to be Half-Life 2.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe Half-Life 2.
It would have been Half-Life 2 or Doom, but
I was gonna say this is a bad list.
This is so.
it kind of is.
Well, I'll say this. We didn't read. They scored them, and then their
There's
points.
stipulations.
I didn't want to read it because this is just a sort of a fun segment. We can go back and I can read about how they sort of came to it, and they do this every year. But okay, well, I don't have any good guesses for the number 1. Richard, do you have a good guess for number 1? It's not Half-Life 2.
It's obviously not Half-Life 2. My other guess probably would have been Doom, but
Yeah, Doom's number 10. Yeah. I'm gonna guess. Oh God, yeah. I suck at this. I'm gonna guess Elite Dangerous.
You're wrong.
Let's see. Number 1. Oh, Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, I'm stupid. Yeah. Okay. Duh.
yeah.
All right. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, Richard, you're not a fan of the list.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay. So I was not a fan of the list because I did not have the context. Now that I have the context, all right, fine.
Okay. Well, that's not juicy. That's not fun.
I thought this was all time. This is just for this year, and it's like, oh, okay.
Well, no, because it's like Witcher 3 came out in 2015.
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay.
Yeah,
So
they just update the list.
Yeah, I think they just update the list every year.
time.
Yeah.
Our annual list of the best PC games around.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this list is awful.
Yeah. No. Okay. No shade to Concerned Ape.
So it's not
but
necessarily
Stardew Valley is not a top 10 game of all time, with Red Dead being number 15.
Okay, so they have a couple different things here, right?
They're
So
wrong.
Our scoring system. So this is how they scored it. They scored it quality. How good is it? A purely personal rating of its caliber as a game. There you go. Importance. How noteworthy is it? That's why your Minecrafts get in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite may be on this list somewhere. I'm not going to look through all 100. Hotness. How exciting is it? Its ability to retain a lively community that is excited and passionate about it. So that's why maybe you'll see Team Fortress 2, Red Dead 2, I think still has a pretty alive and well single player community that's always, obsessive and talking about it, which is great. And then playability, how playable is it? Its accessibility to modern audiences and a measure of how easy it is to get running on modern systems. So Doom, obviously, because there's jokes about, you can run Doom on a styrofoam cup, whatever. So it's like, so you have that to go on. So there's a couple different, so I think when we talk about like top game of all time lists, it's like, what does top mean, right?
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to make a top X list of all, or top 100 list, top whatever list of all time.
Yeah.
Like the final few, like the final 5, final 10, they should all have an argument for being number 1.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because when it comes to anything else, musicians, like athletes, you could go to 1,000 different people and you will get 1,000 different top 10 lists or top 100 lists, and you will see the same like 5 guys in the top 5.
Yeah.
Because that's just how good they were.
It is funny. Metal Gear Solid 3, which released in 2023, is number 11. So it's like it now counts as a PC game because it released in 20.
So yeah, and I think that's the problem I have with it, because this is not, when I look at this is not a top PC games of all time. This seems more like just a top 100 games of all time.
Yeah.
Because like as we were going through the top 10, at least 10 through 6 were like, sure, I get it. Then Persona 5 Royal pops up, and I love the hell out of Persona 5 Royal. I played both versions, but I do not like Persona 5 Royal on PC did not do anything to move the needle for PC gaming, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, yes, that makes a lot of sense.
And so for me, I'm not going to say the entire list, but a lot of opinions on here, I probably would feel fine just tossing aside.
It's interesting that you bring that up.
But I know,
go ahead.
I know that's hubristic of me. I know that's not a word, but there's a lot of hubris behind that statement. But yes, like I in no way, shape, or form, when I think about, Persona 5 Royal has no business being on this. I'm sorry. And even then, when I look at the top 10, one question I have is like, well, where are if we're talking about best PC games, and I know that they can age, where are my point-and-click adventure games? Where are my Sierra games? Mm-hmm. Where are King's Quest? Where's Ultima? I'm sure they're on the list, but some of those, without some of those games, PC gaming literally would not be where it is today.
Yeah, System Shock, Thief, a lot of games in the 90s, the original Baldur's Gate, the original. What was I thinking? Another RPG. I'm blanking on System Shock 2. To be honest with you, yeah. So each game they show how the different categories scored. So it's interesting that you brought up Persona 5 Royale or Persona 5 Royal. I don't know why I said Royale. Because that quality is a 9 and importance is 8.56. So they rated its importance at an 8.5, and that's aggregate of everybody that voted. So to them, it was important. It would be interesting to hear each person as to why they thought Persona 5 Royal was so important. I don't know the Persona series that well. I assume there were other Persona games that came to PC before Persona 5. Is that wrong?
No, actually, I think 3 and 4 came out early last year. Wait, no, in 2023 on PC. So Persona 5 Royal did come out on PC first.
So if it was the first Persona game to come out on PC, then maybe that's one reason there. I'm not sure. And then, yeah, quality is 9th, which is 6th overall. So you have sort of the different explanations as to why it's ranked so high. There are things that make this difficult, and like we've talked about this idea of having like doing our own list, and we bounced around ideas that maybe we'll eventually get to one day. But I think Halo: The Master Chief Collection is at 30, and that's almost like cheating because I don't understand. I don't understand how you can rate. I don't know.
A collection of games.
A collection of games that's just so, and not to mention where it is now, how sprawling it is with the customs browser. I don't know how long it's been since you guys have opened it up, but there is a customs browser now where people are doing custom lobbies and you can just hop in and hop out. It's a server browser. Forge is massive. All the games, at least for me, run really well. So the Master Chief Collection is like this massive repository of Halo, and I just don't like. I don't know. The quality is 8.5, and I just like those are some of the greatest shooters of all time. The importance is 8.67, even though Halo made the Xbox. So, but it's important to PC gaming. Maybe not that big. So maybe that's the counter argument there. Although Halo was really popular on the PC as well, so at least the first Halo was. But anyway, so Richard, you're about to say something?
Yeah, no, I was looking more into the numbers, and it's just wild because I'm still very shocked at the Persona 5 Royal listing, but like its quality is at a 9, but like Elden Ring's quality is at 8.6 when it's number 3. And Elden Ring's playability is 7.7, but Royal's playability is 8.63. So I'm very confused at these numbers. That's just my personal view. Sure. What I'm looking at here.
It's
contradictory to everything.
Let's do some brainstorming because I don't really want to move on to the next topic. If we were, because we want to do a list like this one day as a fun thing for us, and we'd have to sit down and come up with like rules and regulations so we don't, strangle and murder each other. Yeah. Would a game like the Master Chief Collection be out then?
Yes.
Like you have to split
it would not
games.
Be on the top 100 list.
Okay, now what about the Orange Box then?
No, the individual games can make it on the list, but the Orange Box itself, no.
It's collection, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because
and to be fair, the Orange Box, I feel personally, was mostly a collection meant for console games, not necessarily PC games.
Yeah, you're correct. But so the Orange Box is sort of the Master Chief Collection for the console in a sense, because it was a lot of these Valve games for the first time on console. It was a collection of a lot of amazing games. And so it's like people consider the Orange Box to be one of the best games because it was like a package deal where you get these 3 incredible games, and that deal is so good that I guess they consider the box itself to be all in one thing. But you guys would be out on including sort of game. Connor, you look like you had your own reasons to state there, did you not?
about like collections not being
Sure. Yeah.
Well, it's because like the Master Chief Collection is 3 video games, and how do those 3 video games compare individually? Like if we're doing collections, then I don't know, that feels like it starts to get too muddy. There's too many variables that go into how the collection fares versus how the games fare, because there could be in the collection just a garbage game.
Yeah,
but the rest of the collection is good, and people just ignore that.
Yeah, and the Master Chief Collection was a work in progress for a long time. When it first came out, it had a lot of problems. Yeah.
Also, they put Team Fortress 2, the granddaddy of hero shooters at 61.
61. Wow. Okay, that's high up on the list there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Its importance is 8.81.
Now, its hotness is 5.81. Isn't hotness the community?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
And they mentioned that it has 798 patches at the time of writing this, which means the community has been playing and submitting tickets and like helping the developers develop the game in the way that they want for 798 patches. How is that not a hotness higher?
Yeah, that is weird that hotness seems so low.
And being
for Team Fortress 2,
being one of the first hero shooters, its importance is 8.81, where you have like Minecraft with 9.99 and other games with 9.99 that came out after their like the inception of their genre. And yes, they were crucial in making the genre what it is now. But one of the games that started a genre has a lower importance.
I can understand that. I could see just because you started a genre doesn't necessarily mean you are better than games that, because there are games that come after that sort of perfect that, I think, in a way.
Fair.
Like I think Thief is important because of how it did stealth, but there are stealth games that came after Thief that are made in the vein of Thief that do stealth better than Thief. So it's like, are they better games? Yes, but that doesn't make Thief any less of an importance, right? And I use Fortnite at 58.
Yeah, with an importance of 9.47.
And because Fortnite is important in the sense that it changed the industry, I'd argue for the worse. But what does important means? Important doesn't mean good. It just means important, Storms are important, unfortunately. Diseases are important, as is Sebastian Bach. So it's just like importance is sort of a neutral term. Okay, what about remakes? At 60, they have System Shock, the remake. And I think that is actually higher than System Shock. I'm scrolling here, but I will keep checking. So where would we consider remakes 2 different games?
No, I think if you put on a remake, you have to either choose the original or the remake.
Yeah.
Even if the remake is, because the System Shock remake and the original System Shock are pretty different. One of them is almost like this weird adventure style FPS where you're moving one step at a time. The other is a straight FPS.
Here's where we have to make the distinction of remakes and reboots.
Okay, sure.
If it's a remake and they're just doing an HD remake, then one or the other. If it's just a full reboot where they're just taking the IP and then creating a new game from it to start the story over, then they can both make it on this because they are 2 different games that just share a title.
Okay.
Like Prey.
Yeah. I was gonna say Prey at 42 seems pretty high. I am surprised how many people. I love Prey, but like I think a lot of people have sort of a rose-tinted glasses when it comes with Prey. I don't know. It was really like Prey was really close to
the original.
No, the Prey 2017 is 42.
Oh, 2017.
Yeah. Prey was really close to being an absolute masterpiece. It had a lot of awesome ideas, but it just dropped the ball in a few areas really poorly. That I think is just too bad. So yeah, I can understand that one. Yeah, this is Elder Scrolls Skyrim is 37. Okay.
And
actually, I think 30s for Skyrim, that's probably pretty accurate.
Fine. Yeah.
Like Skyrim's a really popular game, but when it comes to, I don't know, innovation or quality, like it's fun, really good. One of the best, but I think like right in that 30 range is probably where it fits. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, you guys will know that I am an avid defender of my Paradox games, yes. And 2 of them show up on this list that I would never put on a top 100 games list.
What's that?
Crusader Kings 3 and Stellaris.
you put either of them?
I would not put either. I think there are more influential, better made games that could fill out a top 100 list.
Okay, like which ones? What do you think is the best Paradox game? I'll ask you that.
Best Paradox game?
Yeah, grand strategy 4X, like Crusader Kings. Which one do you think is the best? European Universalis, like which one of those?
This would have to be a longer conversation than
pick as best as you can right now.
Well, the Crusader Kings 2.
Crusader Kings 2, you think would be the best one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. So that would be okay. So that would be like, but would that be top 100 for you?
Oh, that would be like max in, like it wouldn't go past 90.
Wow. Okay. I'm surprised how much you hate your favorite.
No, it's not that I hate it. I just think there's like, of every other like game out there that's been released for PC, I feel that there are more games that should populate the list before my favorites.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so Baldur's Gate 3 at 1 I think is understandable. I think importance is actually, I'm curious how they describe, because like Disco Elysium I think was more innovative than Baldur's Gate 3. That may sound weird, but Baldur's Gate 3 was just a really, really good version of things that we have, like I don't necessarily think it was innovative. It was innovative in the sense of how good it was, right?
Right.
But we have seen turn-based combat, and in a lot of ways, I think Baldur's Gate 3 was a really good BioWare RPG. Like, it reminded me of a really good BioWare RPG. And that's not taking away from it, but I think, like, when we talk about why is a game good, Disco Elysium sort of did, like, it was the first kind of... It took the adventure games of the 90s and meshed it with an RPG, and then it was also funny and surreal and had this incredible world. Like, to me, Disco Elysium is more innovative in that sense because it created something really original and really not seen before. Just a point I wanted to make. Also, I'm looking for the first StarCraft. StarCraft 2 is 35, I think.
The original StarCraft is not on the list.
It's not on the list?
It's not on the list.
Okay.
Also, and I know
okay.
we went over this.
How do you not rate? How is that not one of the top 100 most important? That StarCraft, the first StarCraft, might be the single most important RTS in the history of RTSs.
Possibly, yes.
That is a. I don't think that's a crazy argument
that
at
is
all.
a lukewarm take.
that may be a very lukewarm take. In the history, I'm going full on skip. You don't have StarCraft on the top 100. Sorry. I don't think that was an offensive Shannon Sharp. I think that was okay. No, but like the first StarCraft not only gave South Korea like something to do for 20 years, but like completely changed RTSs. I think can set the table for what an anyway, I just think like maybe the argument is Warhammer or Warcraft is sort of the better RTS, maybe. I don't know, but I don't see how.
I can tell you that it's not the better RTS. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because they gave up making it into an RTS and turned it into a MMORPG.
Yeah, and arguably that could make World of Warcraft the most important game ever. At least maybe the most important game of like the aughts of like the 2000s. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I know we went over this, but I just scrolled back up because I couldn't remember certain things. And the quality, which is, quote, a purely personal rating, counts as 60% of the score.
Oh, really?
Yes. So this is not top 100 games. This is our top 100 favorite games.
Okay.
Because more than half of the score is based off of quality, which is a heavily biased according to them.
I'm going down here to personal picks. I'm not sure. Personal picks. The PC Gamer has plenty of personal favorites that just couldn't fit into the main list. So here's a selection of recommendations that didn't quite make the cut, but remain near and dear to our editors' hearts. Okay. Majora's Mask, Cult of the Lamb, Jagged Alliance 3, Neverwinter Nights, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War, Dark Souls 3, Sims 4, Halo Infinite. I don't know how... I'm going to read Halo Infinite. This is Morgan Park. I failed to lobby for Halo Infinite to make the list this year, despite its multiplayer finally getting really good. I've put nearly 150 hours into it since the fall, and of almost all of that time has been spent enjoying its huge variety of modes and maps. The map pool has particularly exploded with original and throwback maps created by the Forge community. Morgan, we're on a first name basis. I will sympathize because I have heard good things about its multiplayer, but I will never forgive Halo Infinite for having Cortana nearly murder an entire fucking race. So for that fact and that fact alone, it should never touch the top 500 games of all time. I will put Leisure Suit Larry into the top 100 before I put Halo Infinite in there. Go ahead, Connor.
I didn't think about this while I was scrolling through the list, and I didn't notice it. But in the personal picks is BioShock.
Oh, BioShock's not on the top 100.
Did not make the top 100 games list, which is a crime.
Okay, Alpha Protocol's on there too. All right, cool. All right. Well, when it comes to top 100 lists, this top 100 list is probably somewhere in the 90s. PC Gamer.
This is in the personal picks.
This is in the personal picks. Okay, this is one of the top 100 lists. That didn't make the cut.
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go stand on my soapbox and say that a top 100 list that features Stellaris and Stardew Valley, but not StarCraft and BioShock, is a terrible list.
Also one that includes literally a Nintendo 64 game and not a PC game.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Emulators.
I don't give a shit.
That's in personal picks, so I don't know if maybe they have a specific rule for that or something like that, because I did catch that too, but it was in the personal pick, so I was like, okay, maybe they have a certain... Let me read it real quick.
PC Gamer has plenty of personal picks that could the list. Here's a selection of recommendations that didn't quite make the cut, but remain near and dear to our editors' hearts.
Okay, so that was Fraser Brown, Majora's Mask. But they don't explain...
Again,
are we sure it never came to PC? I know that seems impossible.
So it says right here, it is now playable at 4K 60 frames a second on PC thanks to a native and legal port that dynamically recompiles the N64 code.
Okay, so it's a technicality then.
Yeah, it's
because it's a legal emulation as opposed to it's a port, I guess, not an emulation, but I don't know. We're really like splitting hairs if we're going to consider Majora's Mask a PC game, but every other Zelda game that you can emulate on a PC because it's a legal gray area, all of a sudden it's not a PC game. So I don't know. This is you're standing deposed, PC Gamer. You hear me? You hear me, Fraser Brown? You're fired.
This is definitely
you're fired.
This is PC Gamer's top 100 favorite PC games, and there's an asterisk next to PC.
But this is fun,
it's also fun dunking on them.
But I don't know. I don't want to make I don't want to make, because I'm sure there are people that are like they're getting abuse now because there's like some fucking. I'm trying to think of like a obscure. There's some like Mr. Mosquito fan out there who is like buying pressure cookers to attack PC Gamer or something because it didn't make the top 100 list or some bullshit like that. I was gonna say Alan Wake 2, number 21. That's interesting. That seems a lot higher.
Very interesting.
Than
I would argue Control belongs on the list more than Alan Wake.
See, that's interesting to me because I think Alan Wake is better than Control, but you seem to be opposite.
Sure, but I think you are correct, but Control kind of was at the forefront of RTX and
okay.
And whatchamacallit, the lighting,
real-time tracing or whatever, real-time reflection, whatever, I don't remember.
Ray tracing,
ray tracing, yeah.
yeah, it was like the forefront of that tech. So
yeah, and man, did that game look good. That game does look damn good. That game does look damn good. Yeah, this will always be the lists like this, especially with video games. This will always be sort of the difficulty, because something like Pizza Tower is on here, which I've never played, but I know Richard you really liked, and obviously a lot of people like, and
I haven't played it, but
I thought you did. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I haven't played it, but it's literally just Wario Land.
And then
so it's like it's another Nintendo game. Might as well be.
And then Vampire Survivors is on here too. So it's like, how do you compare that to games like Deus Ex or something? You know, that's an impossible comparison, because they set out to do completely different things. Obviously,
yeah.
One game 100%. is a conspiracy laden action game where you kill thousands of enemies, and the other game is Deus Ex. So yeah. Is anything else we would like? Thief Gold is 28. So that's where
I will say, just to reiterate, that for these type of lists, there should be a point where the number stops mattering, because all of these games, or all of these whatever you're talking about, have an argument for being the greatest of all time.
Oh, okay. So, and that's why your suggestion at one point was not numbering them.
Yeah.
Having like zones or like sections where it's like, here's the top 10 games of all time in no order.
Yeah.
Because how do you, if you want to have
that's a great suggestion.
It's like, if you want to have impact in there, then you can have, say, you can have a Minecraft, and you can have a Baldur's Gate 3, but you're not going to say which one's better. You're just going to say
these ones are all in contention for the greatest of all time.
Yeah. And I Connor, that's your best innovation on this podcast.
Thank you.
Is the innovation of how we do top 10 lists. Hey, you know what 89 is?
What?
Oh, you're about to find out what 89 is. It is Death Stranding, ladies and gentlemen. Death Stranding at 89. Its importance is at a 6.79, playability 8.10, and quality 7.92.
That importance is 6.782 high.
Ultra Kill, I have Ultra Kill. Destiny 2 is on here. Inside is Hotline Miami 82, Kentucky Road Zero 81. Now, I haven't looked through the list. I was just, Baldur's Gate 2 is 79. Okay, that's interesting. Oh yeah, and then the other question would be, what do we think about franchises then? Because we've had this discussion in the past when we've done panels and stuff like that.
If it's like, not the greatest game in its franchise, it's not on the greatest game list.
But what if there's two really good games, like Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 3? I don't see how you exclude one of them because the other one is super good.
And this is where I'm getting down to like that fine minutia. Like if it's gonna be, you're gonna have your core, these are the greatest games, and everything else isn't on the list. They're honorable mentions.
Oh, there's apparently no Portal 2.
Yeah, there's Portal, not Portal 2.
Okay. Yeah, there are some interesting inclusions here. Cyberpunk 2077 is 72. And Max Payne is also on here.
Yep.
So there are 3 Remedy games rounding out the top 100 PC games of all time that I have found. I don't know if the first Alan Wake is on here or not. But anyway, so we've done
Alien Isolation is on the list.
We're at an hour 8, so we'll save the next story for next week. Richard, why don't we do tidbits? Connor,
yeah,
hit the sounder. What if I told you, in this world, there are bits and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits? What you got, Richard?
Boom, boom, boom. I got some quick numbers and data for a couple of different games here. I'll go ahead and spout those out. From Crystal Dynamics, the Tomb Raider franchise has now sold over 100 million copies. Congratulations to Tomb Raider and Lara Croft. King will lay off 7% of its workforce in Spain. I thought they made money, but I guess not. Until Dawn's PS5 debut is 28% weaker than Concord is. That's what you get for making a 6-year-old game.
Where is that coming from?
I made it up.
My sources, I made it the fuck up.
I'm just curious because that's a really specific number. Is that Matt Piscatella?
No.
Okay.
It's video games.
Okay. That's a really specific number to have about two like random games. Although I agree with you, it is weird that they they remade Until Dawn.
It's because they track the launch player count.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. It looks like, yeah. Sorry, I just took the thing and slapped it on here. So I wanted to put more actual tidbits in here. I didn't want to expand on this, Tyler.
I'm sorry. Gotta cite your sources, or I'm gonna fire you. God damn it!
No. All right. Let's see here. What was I at? Oh, okay. PlayStation. We're moving on from numbers now, but PlayStation has removed Hotline Miami 2 from sale in Australia and refunded PS5 owners who bought the game. Last October, Hotline Miami 1 and 2 got a native release on the PS5 in the country, and Hotline Miami 2 was also later added to the PlayStation Plus Extra catalog. A year from then, which was like last week, Australian owners of the game on PS5 have been getting refunds as the Australian Classification Board has once again stepped in to enforce the board's original ruling from several years back. So
Australia is weird with their video games. Australia is weird with their video games.
Yeah. Genshin Impact Update 5.1 has almost no voice acting. This is one of the first major games to have seen repercussions from the SAG-AFTRA strike. Genshin Impact's newest story patch has little to no voice acting, and as a major majority of the voice actors for the characters are working with the studio that is adhering to the strike, whereas there are some characters who are voiced in the patch only because they work for a different studio that has agreed to SAG-AFTRA's conditions, and therefore they can continue to work as normal. And last tidbit of the night, although this one is slightly longer, I'm sorry. Sonic Rumble is Sega's first multiplayer party game for the Sonic series. It's going to be launched this winter in a couple months. The 32-player Battle Royale title will be free to play, but it will have no gacha elements. Sega avoided gacha and pay-to-win mechanics in this game because they apparently know overseas players don't like them. Makoto Tase, the game's director, stated, "In the Japanese and American markets, it is common to have to spend tens of thousands of yen in a game until you draw a rare character and finally get to move on. But this is not the case in the global market, especially for an action game like Sonic Rumble, where players would be able to enjoy the game on equal footing. The starting point of this project itself was to make it a mobile game that would sell globally. Therefore, the monetization model was designed from the beginning based on global standards." And Tase also adds that monetization models that use gacha mechanics have not been very successful when it comes to games targeted towards worldwide audiences of all ages. Also, such mechanics tend to be shunned overseas, so we didn't think it was the right choice for this project, end quote.
Well, I don't like gacha mechanics, and I think there's bigger reasons for overseas markets not liking them. More like they suck. But hey,
at least Sega good. Is,
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Seeing that, so
I'll take that.
But that's it for Tidbits.
Okay. Follow us, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. Send us your top 100 games list in the comments. We'll read through all of them. We'll mock you.
I will lambast you.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Tell us what your favorite games are.